Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and I want to welcome you to my podcast in which I discuss an individual horror film from any different decade and any different subgenre, where I bring in a special guest and we kind of sit down, discuss, have a conversation about that particular film, and kind of get to the analysis and critique of it so that you, our viewer or our listener, gets a clearer picture of a particular movie, whether you've seen it or not, or you've never heard of it, or you've been avoiding it like the plague. It will be very interesting to figure out exactly where you feel in the spectrum with this latest film that we are talking about today, because in many circles, this is considered a very popular and very good werewolf movie, and in other circles, you may have never heard of it. And that will be from 2000, Ginger Snaps, the lycanthrope werewolf film. And to discuss this film with me, I brought on Mr. Dave Watkins to enjoy this conversation about a werewolf movie. How you doing?
Yeah. Good to be back, man. Yeah, this is a very independent type of werewolf horror movie, but it's one of my favorite werewolf movies, really. I think it's definitely in my top three, I would think.
Interesting. I don't know if it's in my one of my top three. It's definitely in my top five, slash top 10. I have not done surprisingly a list of my top werewolf movies. I probably need to do that, but this would be at the very top of it, despite the fact that I have actually not seen this movie a whole lot. The thing is, I remember it so well. Even when I rewatched it, I remember it extremely well, because it made an impression on me I guess 26 years ago when I first saw it. So
I'll tell you though, there's not that many good werewolf films. Like, I was just trying to come up with a list, like you're saying, and the movies I have is American Werewolf in London, The Howling, Dog Soldiers, The Wolfman, Silver Bullet. Yeah, there's a newer movie called Werewolves Within. You ever see that one?
that one's great.
Yeah,
I
that was
love
really
that.
good.
But
That's
to
the yeah.
be honest with you, with werewolf movies, more often than not, I consider them mostly extremely fun and entertaining, but not necessarily great movies. There are only a handful that I consider really great movies, and in terms of werewolf films, and the other ones are more or less entertaining as shit. Surprisingly, this film, after rewatching it, I still think this is one of the better films, which is why I would put it on the top of my list, because it still, in my opinion, it still holds up, and it still has a very interesting story to tell, as opposed to some of the other films out there where it's just fun to watch them. Uh,
Yeah. This one's got it's not only it is still fun, but it's got some really great performances in it.
mhm.
But these it's a Canadian, I guess, initially, but
Yeah,
it's
Canadian production.
yeah, just the performances by the two actresses that play the sisters, like Emily Perkins and Catherine Isabel. They
Yep.
play Bridget and Ginger, but they're just the chemistry between them and what they go through, and it like really like pulls the movie. I didn't see this one when it first came out like you did.
Oh,
But it was I probably saw it maybe 10 years after it was out, maybe, but I don't know exactly when. But when I remember it was it was my probably my birthday, I believe, and for some reason I'd taken off work and I just was binging some horror movies, and this was one of the ones I was binging, and I really was surprised how good it was. And it does have a kind of a birthday's near Halloween, and it does have a kind of Halloween thing going on in the film. It's part of it does take place on Halloween. So any movie
yes.
that takes place on Halloween, that does add some bonus points to it.
Hmm. Well, yes, it does, and I had forgotten some of this part takes place during Halloween until I rewatched it. So to be honest with you, like I said before, I've only before this podcast, I'd only seen the movie once, but I remembered it almost perfectly. It's because it left such a undeniable impression on me, and very few films do that. To be honest with you, where I could see them once and I'll still remember them,
Yeah.
which is why I don't bother to rewatch them again. But this was one of those movies. And the fact that I kind of forgot that it was Halloween is probably because horror is just a culture in the lives of the two main characters, the Ginger and Bridget characters who are sisters, played impeccably well by a very young Emily Perkins and Catherine Isabel, of who I've seen a plethora of films now where she stars, because this was an early film of hers that allowed her to actually do a lot with very little, and then come out on top of it. I see this film, before we get into a whole bunch of details of it, I see this film as very similar, or like a early cousin to Jennifer's Body, the way that the relationship between its characters unfold. Not sure. We've never discussed if you've seen that one before.
Yeah, no, I've got a DVD copy of it. Hopefully they'll come out with a 4K eventually of it. It's a great film. It's like both was Megan Fox and Amanda Seyfried. They're really awesome in that.
Both of these films, it really boils down to the relationship between the sisters and friends, and how it is corrupted through the story and how it ends up. I loved both.
What you said about, I didn't even think about that. Jennifer's Body does like, she's a demon. She's possessed by a demon in that one. The werewolf similar to a demon. Very similar, and both of them are high school like takes, that's a good comparison there.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, to kind of ground this film under like it almost partially coming of age, and the ideal that the Ginger character is getting her period or going through her first menstrual cycle 3 years late, which I didn't remember that detail, but 3 years later than she should normally have. And then that coinciding with her being attacked by the werewolf, and or probably caused her to be attacked by the werewolf.
It definitely causes it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it much more interesting as the story unfolds, because you are watching this young girl become a woman, but also become a ferocious and complex beast of a character that struggles between what she was before she became a werewolf, and then what she is slowly becoming as she becomes a werewolf. And I like the progression, that it doesn't start off as she's full werewolf and that's it. It's a slow thing throughout the whole month, which I really I like. And that's the things I like about this that makes it different than all the other werewolf movies out there. So
now, something about this werewolf that's different than most other werewolves. And now there is a new movie called Wolfman now that does something similar, but it's not like like the Lon Chaney werewolf, or even most of the time werewolf. The full moon comes and they turn into a werewolf while the moon's out, and then when the moon goes away, they're cool, they're back to normal. But this seems to be almost like a virus or a contagion, where they turn into a werewolf and they stay a werewolf once they become a werewolf.
Yes,
which we don't know that until later in the movie, but it is it makes it a lot more scary, than something that's like, I remember when I was younger, I used to think werewolf would be one of the better monsters, because you only have to be a werewolf a couple of days a month, and then but the older I get, the quicker a month goes by. When I was younger, it's like, a month seemed like a year. Now it's like a month is 2 days in comparison.
So you'd be a werewolf all the time almost. Yeah. You bring up something. I don't recall there being any other like, the closest I could come to a film that might be closer to this type of werewolf would be the movie Wolf with Jack Nicholson, where once he turns into a wolf, he's stuck a wolf. More or less.
Is he stuck in that one too? I thought he turned back for some reason.
He doesn't.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
He doesn't turn back into a man once he becomes a wolf at the end of that movie. We just see him running off into the woods, and of course, he's passed on his virus to the Michelle Pfeiffer character, who I can't remember the character's name.
You don't remember her name?
Hey, it's Michelle Pfeiffer. I don't remember the character's name. It's Michelle Pfeiffer. I love me some Michelle Pfeiffer. I still like Michelle Pfeiffer. Don't be knocking the Michelle Pfeiffer now.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about it. I'm Michelle Pfeiffer, man. I dig her,
But
especially when she's playing Catwoman in Batman Returns. Yeah,
werewolves and Catwoman, she can do it
yeah,
all. I tell you, do it all. Uh, but the this one makes it much more tragic because we don't get the sense that they turn back into a human. It's like a virus. They mention that in the film, and they treat it like a virus once they call it as a virus. And I like that because I don't recall any of the werewolf movie calling it a virus like that. Even in
yeah.
the most recent Wolfman, did they actually call it a virus?
Well, I don't know if they specifically say it, but it definitely is. It was actually kind of jarring for me watching that film because again, when I was watching that one, I was thinking that they would be turning it to a wolf and then turn it back into a
Oh,
human.
gotcha.
But it's it makes it a lot different. It actually becomes that movie specifically almost is more of a contagion movie in less of a werewolf movie.
Mm,
But here the wolf is a wolf. You know, it's kind of odd looking wolf. It doesn't have hair for the most part. There's a little bit of hair, but it's mostly kind of hairless.
yeah.
But it's yeah, the special effects are like practical in this, and they look pretty awesome for the most part. Sometimes they apparently shot a lot more, and then they edited it down because some of it didn't look that convincing. But what they show, what you see on screen is very convincing.
I think that's because the way they lit a lot of it too and edited some of the sequences, it makes it look really menacing. And the one thing I loved about this film is that it took a page out of the American Werewolf in London, where this werewolf is always on all fours, kind of
Right, yeah,
like that one, which we don't see a lot. We don't see
yeah,
anyone embracing that. We see a lot of bipedal werewolves, is what we see a lot of. But this one is simply like a virus. It simply goes out there, and Ginger finds herself being attracted to the rage and chaos that the transformation is causing in her. I like those aspects of this werewolf. It's like we're gonna make a werewolf film, is what the filmmakers thought. We're gonna make a werewolf film, but we're kind of gonna do our own fucking thing and not follow any rules, except for the
yeah.
fact that we're gonna be like American Werewolf in London and have our werewolf be on all fours once they change completely. That's about all that
Yeah.
they use.
Well, I think they intentionally were trying to avoid some cliches, and
Yeah.
they actually don't call them werewolves, like you said. They call them lycanthropes,
Hmm.
which now everybody knows what that means. But back then, it was more of a what the heck does that mean?
You're
They don't
right.
call yeah, they don't call like wolf's bane. They call it something else. Like
Uh,
it's the yeah,
yeah, mud something. I wrote it down. Mud.
yeah. I've got it written
What
down
is
too.
that?
What
I
was it called? Yeah. But yeah, they call it they try to like avoid saying words like wolf and werewolf. It's called monk's hood, which
months.
is just yeah. If you go and Google that or Wikipedia that, it's just another name for wolf's bane. But that's what they use as a potential like cure for it, or at least like a stopper, a brief stopper to prevent the transformation from fully happening.
Yeah, because we only see it actually work on one person. I do like the fact that it is a virus, so she gives the virus to another a character in the film. So just if you haven't seen the film Ginger Snaps, and we are going to say, why haven't you seen Ginger Snaps? The
Well, I highly recommend checking it out if you
Yeah,
haven't
I
seen
do.
it.
We do highly recommend checking it
And
out before listening to our podcast on the film, and then come back and listen
yeah.
again.
Or you can listen to it, and like I'll watch the movie. I mean, not this movie, but like some movies you'll watch it and you won't even remember it. So
Oh,
it's but this also I do want to say that there's a new 4K UHD release of this that just has come out from Vestron Home Video. It looks pretty solid. And previously they have a Blu-ray really good one from Shout Factory, but the 4K restoration does have a new color grading, which is unique to the 4K release.
okay, okay. I know we discussed this right before were recording the show because I was very curious on that since the only version I have is the original DVD release.
Yeah.
So my copy is 26 years old. I have the
Yeah, well, I mean, no, the Blu-ray it looks pretty good, but when I was watching the Blu-ray, like a few weeks ago when I was prepping for this, I was like, this could use like a 4K
Uh,
upgrade because I could just tell that it was, especially in the fine detail areas, like the closer shots of people, you could tell. I'm like, there's room for more to be able to see more stuff here. So I'm
mm,
glad it did come out after that. And sometimes you don't see that. Say if you were to watch a Blu-ray release that had a 4K, they say if they had a 4K scan and then they released it to Blu-ray, it's going to look really good. But sometimes when you watch one that doesn't have that scan, it's just more of an upgrade. It's just, the Blu-ray may even be an upscale from the same type of master that the DVD was mastered from. Not that it doesn't look horrible, but it definitely when you're watching it, you're like this could use some improvement.
mm,
But
yep.
it is kind of weird the way they changed some of the color grading on the 4K because it is some of it just looks a little different. It's the odd decisions that they made, but they got like the grain is very grain heavy because it's like very darkly lit. A lot of this film, the cinematography is very interesting, but a lot of it is darkly lit on purpose so that there is a lot of film grain in the film because of the low lighting situations. They did clean some of that up in the 4K, which is probably done by AI, unfortunately. But but it doesn't look as prominent. You still see a little bit of film grain, but it's not as swirling as it is on the Blu-ray release.
I'm sure that the third act, the third act probably looks great in 4K though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, like all of it's looking pretty good. But the one of the best scenes I think in the movie is when Ginger is attacked by the werewolf for the first time, well, the only time. And it's in the playground. That scene's probably one of the best scenes in the film.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting because for these two characters, these sisters are very much horror fans into horror.
Yeah,
They have a school project in which they show themselves dead by multiple different ways, which is the opening credits of the film. I don't
yeah,
recall any other horror film ever having anything like this, where I mean, this movie truly was made by horror fans. Even though
yeah.
yeah.
But they staged photos of different violent deaths. It's pretty
Yeah.
hilarious, and they have like a montage of it. The two sisters are very morbid in general, and they have a suicide pact
Hmm.
together, where it's something to the extent of they don't want to be separated, and they rather die together than grow old and become part of normal adult society. So they have an odd suicide pact, and they live in this in with a room in the basement of their house, and they have twin bunk beds down, or twin not bunk beds, twin beds down there, and so they spend a lot of their time in this drab basement area.
Which they love. And just so everyone knows, there is a year apart between the two characters. Bridget's 15 and Ginger's 16. And Bridget is so smart she has been pushed up a grade, so they're both exactly in the same class. Uh, but
And yeah, yeah, yeah.
that does
The
not
Brit
mean they're not bullied by the other people in the school, because that plays a huge part in what unfolds. Bridget, they're both bullied in terms of being verbally bullied, but only Bridget is physically bullied by other character.
Yeah,
So
there's like a popular is
like
what's her name? Is it Trina
yeah,
Sinclair, a popular girl at school who's just you know how they are in these movies and probably in real life too, but just
yeah,
picking on them.
they're
It was,
picking up
it's
because they're the
yeah,
goth kids. They're the only
yeah,
goth kids at this small town of Bailey Downs. I wrote it down so I can
yeah,
remember
yeah.
the town, Bailey Downs.
There's a great shot near the beginning of the
Yes.
film where that shows the Bailey Downs sign and it goes over this field and but it was weird is like I was looking at it on 4K and the grass looks so awesome in 4K and I was like I went back and looked at the Blu-ray and I was like okay still looks pretty good in the Blu-ray too so and but it's a great looking shot though it's like a shot of the sign and then it like the camera pans over this big field and it's great. That opening scene is a little disturbing. You got like it starts off these kids playing in the backyard, and one of their dogs has been massacred by a werewolf, and the mom's screaming at that point.
You have to set it up right, okay?
Yeah,
What the youngest son is playing in a little sandbox, and his mother comes by and sees him playing with something in the sandbox, and when she picks it up, it's the foot of the dog.
yeah, yeah,
And so she screams when she goes to look for the dog, and she sees the massacre at the dog's doghouse. Now the other kids play a smaller role because these other kids that are in the background will keep showing up in the background of other scenes throughout the entire movie, which is just hilarious. And then of course, we see one of the kids that are at the very beginning of this movie. We see his dog massacred later on. His dog Norman, which is the neighbor of Bridget and Ginger.
yeah.
So all this stuff seems like this really, really small town, because next thing you know is you see the woman with her child screaming, "It got my dog!" And it's been like everybody knows that there's a wild animal on the loose that's been killing local animals.
Yeah. And it's, you got, this is definitely the type of like horror movie where some people won't watch a horror movie if the dog gets killed, but dogs get killed in this when they're werewolves. And sometimes it's kind of hard not to kill a dog if you're a werewolf, It's like,
Well, there are two dogs that get killed in this movie.
yeah, yeah. But fortunately, they don't spend a lot of time getting you to like the dogs. It's like,
No.
yeah, so dogs just, it's,
Oh yeah, two dogs
yeah.
get killed and one goes missing. I don't think they show Trina's dog dead anywhere. It's just Norman and the dog at the very beginning of the film, that
Yeah.
we know are dead. So, and I'm saying that we're talking about dead dogs in the horror movie. Jesus. But that's kind of it. But it's played for almost like humor, because the woman's running through the streets telling
Yeah.
everybody that they got my dog, and Bridget's stepping out of her garage. And it's like, okay, so another dog's been taken. Okay. And
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
it's a great setup, dude. It's a great, because
Right.
she's full. Her hands are full with all the stuff that they're going to use to set up the photo sessions that they're about to do. And so she's like, okay, so what else is new?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? It makes me think about I've been in situations like that where I'm trying to shoot something and you got all this stuff and then you walk out and there's something drama that's not related to what you're doing, and it's just like, son of a bitch, just stop and leave, It's like, it's like,
Well,
I get the mentality behind it. I don't know if it's that or if it's like she just wouldn't care otherwise, but it's definitely if you're trying to set up something like a shoot, a photo shoot or whatever, and there's like this woman running around the neighborhood like screaming, like,
one thing is, you get the sense that everyone knows everybody in this little fucking neighborhood. And and everyone, lots of people have dogs, and so just another dead dog on the neighborhood is not gonna faze Bridget. And when she tells Ginger that, I think another dog was taken or something like that, they don't really pay much attention. They're too busy.
Right.
They end up talking about the suicide pact, which you mentioned earlier. And then, of course, we go into the montage with all the pictures that they've been masquerading in, which I think was actually really creative and different. I still haven't seen many characters in horror films that actually kind of just have these type of horror characters and make them three-dimensional. A lot of the times we have a goth character in a horror film, and they are so clichély written and executed that they're boring to watch.
Yeah, I mean, people don't get goth characters most of the time because the person who wrote this was on the inside of the goth character. Somebody who will write a goth character as a caricature is somebody who doesn't understand a goth character. The guy whoever wrote, which I think is I think it was a woman who wrote this.
Yeah, both of them. John Fawcett and the other young lady who wrote it. Yeah,
they understood that, and they're not mocking it.
Yeah, no. Yes, that's a good word. They're not mocking it. Other people bully these characters, but these characters, because of the way they talk and dress and look and act, a lot of it is in the performances. They just seem authentic and real characters from this small little town that just doesn't understand them, and they
Yeah.
don't see their own place in this town. You know?
So the screenplay was written by Karen Walton. There was an interview with her on the Scream Factory disc. It was pretty interesting. But I wanted to go ahead and throw that out there since I just didn't say her name.
Yeah, I wish I had known her name right off the bat too. I didn't know her name either.
But I
She
think
also
it's very
produced the film as well with
yeah.
John Fawcett.
Right. It's
Yeah.
very well written.
Yeah.
The characters are very well drawn. No, this is a different Karen who produced it. This is Karen Lee Hall.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. There's a lot of Karens involved with this thing, but
No, it's good that you clarify that, G.
Yeah.
I noticed the Karen and I didn't realize that there were
it's
two
the
different.
same Karen.
Oh Jesus! I'm sorry, Karen.
Which one?
But that's why we have you, Dave, to fix it when I'm not looking directly at the credit sequence anymore after having watched it. So that's something I didn't pick up on.
Well, but but then when they go to school, they're always playing like field hockey. It seems to be the thing that they play. It is Canada. It's probably like something they actually do out there.
Yeah, I mean it's different. It is different to see the. I don't see field hockey, and I forgot that's what that was. Field hockey in a lot of movies. If I can recall.
Yeah, because it's not regular. Like it's on a field, and you got like you got like a hockey stick, and you're playing it out on a field instead of on a hockey court with a different type of ball.
Yeah. But that whole setup allows us to see the sub characters, the supporting characters, the Jason character and his cronies who observe the girls playing field hockey, and then all the girls on the field hockey team with Trina, who seems to be the head bully of the group.
Right. Yeah.
And for some odd reason, before they even have a reason, they don't like the sisters at all, and then they specifically pick.
But that's what kids do at school, though. They just pick somebody not to like. They're assholes.
Yeah.
But
small town. I mean, they do goth pictures as their thing. They gross out the whole. The class seems to love their presentation, but the teacher does not.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. The teacher's a little sick by the whole thing. But something does happen on the hockey field during the first introduction, which is kind of like it was very bizarre. Like was it Bridget like Trina like knocks her down and Bridget falls, and then she lands on another mutilated dog that just happens to be on the field that nobody saw until Bridget landed on top of it,
Yeah, I caught that too this time. I was like, so why didn't anyone catch this big carcass on the field? Because they were playing a whole game before this. I didn't really. I mean, I could.
Maybe they were just warming up or something, but still, though, you think that would be the first thing you would see if you walked out into a field and there's a dead, mutilated dog in the middle of it. You'd think you would see it,
Yeah, you definitely would. Someone would see it and make note of it. Yes, I thought it was odd too. 26 years ago when I first saw the movie, I don't think I thought it was odd, but when I rewatched, I was like, okay, so that's
The way that it's shot too, though, because of you don't see it, and then it's like a pan over and then on the doll. But yeah, I don't know. It's odd that they don't see it before, but it's all for just play of her falling onto it, getting knocked into it. But
a lot of different things get played into this whole thing. The whole idea of the mutilated dogs, which have been going on in the towns for God knows how long. We actually don't know how long the werewolf has been feeding off of the dogs or who originally the werewolf was, because that's all the backstory that we are not given any information about. We also,
right.
It's very interesting the way a lot of this is, you don't need to know a lot of the story. They don't ever go into it. It's just somebody they know was a werewolf, but they attacked Ginger that night.
Well, Well, that werewolf's been around. We don't, like you say, we don't know how long. It's been whoever turned into a werewolf, and it could have been somebody not even from this town. Whoever turned into the werewolf has been a wolf for like for however long it's been, and up until, and he's been attacking, or he or she or whoever has been attacking dogs only,
Yeah.
and it's not until like uh, was it Ginger she has a menstrual cycle and she starts bleeding that it attacks a person.
Yeah. So of course, Ginger and Bridget want to get back at Trina for what she did. So they go out in the middle of the night after all that's happened to try and do a prank on her dog. We don't know exactly what. I'm not sure that they know what is what. It's already danger for them to be out because the wild animal is still on the loose. And
Yeah, they kind of messed up already in the head a little bit because they're gonna go like prank her dog. They're kind of they were a little sick in the head to begin with. The Fitzgerald sisters, I think anybody who's gonna go do something to somebody's dog, that's a little over the top. But
well, it depends on what they were planning on doing. To be honest with you, I think one of the ideas was just to take the dog and make her think it's missing or something.
yeah,
But unfortunately for them at the playground, they actually do find the mutilated dog. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
they find the mutilated dog, and then they want to do something with the dog, but they end up they end up getting the limbs, or Bridget picks up one of the limbs and it falls off the body, and of course Ginger has blood on her, not and they think at first it's from the mutilated dog, but then they realize, oh no, she's starting her menstrual cycle, and then of course we know that the werewolf is attracted to that, so she gets attacked. But I like the way she's attacked in this film. Like she gets attacked and dragged off.
Yeah. What's really interesting about that, and I wasn't until I was watching it that scene today, is when you're watching that scene, it almost feels like you see her get dragged off, but you don't. The way it's shot, it's so interesting because they're sitting there and they see like they hear the sounds and they see like a rocking of like this one. They're on a playground like in the neighborhood, and they see like a rocking pony, and suddenly the werewolf comes through the shot really fast and knocks. This is like a two shot, and it knocks Ginger down, and then you hear Ginger screaming, but you don't see her actually getting dragged away. It stays on Bridget,
Bridget's perspective.
but when the way it's the sound design and the way it's edited, it makes you feel like you see her get dragged away, but you really don't see it.
Yeah, but not only that, but they do a really clever thing, because what happens is your impression is that whenever wherever the werewolf is dragging her, it's going in front of the sensor lights of all of the neighbors' houses, and so they're all coming on one by one as it's going by until it stops, and we're still hearing her scream, and then the light for one of them, which has been on, goes off, and then we see Ginger jump back out at her sister Bridget, and then that's when we see the werewolf clearly enough to know that the werewolf is biting her. I think that's when it bites her on the shoulder. I think at that point,
it's attacking her, and then
it's attacking her. But I really like the way it was done. It wasn't like a quick attack and then gone.
Right.
Werewolf has got the scent of her, and it keeps going after her and going after her. And
well, Bridget rescues Ginger, from the werewolf, and then the werewolf keeps chasing them through the woods.
Yeah.
But then it's really crazy. Then they run out into the road, and then a car pulls up, and then it just plows over the werewolf, like disintegrating it all over the road.
Yeah, instead of like the werewolf being like a little bit tougher in skin and like maybe rolling onto the windshield or over the car, it gets smashed and smushed to bits, almost unrecognizable. But and this is the first time we encountered with Sam, who is the local drug dealer of the school, who also grows all of his plants and knows a shit ton about botanicals and a whole bunch of other shit. And
Yeah.
throws these drug parties all over the place. But this is where we first get introduced to him. Because
Sympathetic drug dealer character.
yeah,
It's
another thing you don't normally see in a movie is a sympathetic drug dealer character. Like he's
yeah. I mean, the faculty, you had like Josh Hartnett's character. I think it was kind of starting to become popular around this time. Like the drug, it was kind of like the idea of introducing a character who normally wouldn't have sympathy, who would normally be a villain, but then a little bit of sympathy. But they can't be bad drug dealers. They got to be like, they can't be like dealing meth.
yeah.
They got to be doing like whatever they're doing, but pot, which is like pretty, which is fairly non-violent. It's like you just smoke it and you get high. It's not a violent drug.
It's a mellow downer drug.
Yeah. So you got to think that sort of, you would have those, but it kind of gets the character an edge, but it doesn't make him a villain,
No. He actually seems a lot smarter than he should probably be because he's the one who calls it for the first time a lycanthrope. So he seems a little bit more clever and smarter than you would expect this type of character to be. But they do see Bridget and Ginger see the werewolf get smashed and killed, and then of course they rush her to their house, which isn't that far away. In hopes,
right? Yeah.
Go ahead.
With two things, they have a Polaroid camera and they get a picture of the werewolf while the werewolf's attacking them.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't go straight home. She's bleeding. They go to the store to buy tampons. Well, no, that's the next day though when they do
That's
that.
the next day they go to get tampons.
Well,
they take her home and
yeah.
her wounds stop bleeding.
Right. Because, the wounds start healing like really a lot quicker because she's now becoming a werewolf or lycanthrope.
Yeah. Bridget wants to immediately take her to the hospital, get her checked out, everything. But because the wounds stop bleeding, Ginger convinces her not to do that.
Right.
And then they end up going to school the next day, and Ginger is like completely out of it. They're sitting in class, and Ginger just falls headfirst onto her desk during whatchamacallit. Like, she starts feeling that change, and then I think that's when you're talking about that they end up going to the store to get tampons because they're equating everything that Ginger is feeling to her getting her menstrual cycle for the first time, which is very interesting because it's not just these two characters feeling that because they're obviously not thinking that she's turning into a werewolf, but even her parents. Her mother, played by Mimi Rogers, I don't know why I didn't bring that up first. Mimi Rogers is like the best known actress in the whole movie when this originally came out. But at that time, she hadn't been playing in a bunch of mainstream films. I do remember it being like a coup for them to get Mimi Rogers to be in this horror movie because I don't recall her being in any other horror movie other than this, to be honest with you.
It's her. She's very expressive, like with her face. Mimi Rogers. It's like kind of it's a pretty funny like performance. The mom is, and
that's because for a huge chunk of this movie, she's a very interesting presence on the story. It's a little sad to the last thing we see of her is very end, and she goes into the party looking for her daughters, and then we don't ever see her again.
Right.
I realized that. I kept thinking that there was another scene, but there wasn't. I was like, oh, that seems kind of odd, but okay. But she has a presence during the whole thing because you see the way that she is a parent to these two girls. She wants to be supportive of what Ginger's going through, thinking it's part of her first menstrual cycle, which is 3 years late. But she also wants to be helpful, and she knows her kids are very different than other kids. Her parenting style is different.
And it's funny that like the dad is really like low energy, and she seems like the mom is just not that into the dad. It's almost like you almost treat him like he's not even there most of the time,
No.
But,
yeah.
But it's it's kind of comical, like the way that she's like one of those moms who is wanting to be involved. She
Yeah.
wants them to open up to her and anything, and she's constantly like trying to get them to talk about things they don't want to talk about, like tampons are very embarrassing to them, and the fact they have to go to the store to get tampons is like really embarrassing. And the guys walk up and see them in the store, with the tampons, and that's like, so like, oh shit, they saw us looking at the tampons, Well, it's funny because you think about like if they're thinking like they're embarrassed about the tampons, like like but guys know that that's what they're going to be doing is women get tampons, so
Yeah.
it's different. If there used to be like it used to be like a big deal in some movies and shows where you showed the guy would have to go get tampons for his girlfriend, and then that's more makes more sense for it to be embarrassing because it's like, especially when you're like a high schooler, got to go get your mom's tampons or tampons for your girlfriend. Now that could be a little embarrassing.
Yeah, not so much for the female characters, but for the male characters. Yeah. But it's funny because, the Jason character, see, because he has sisters, he understands it perfectly, and he suggests a different and alternative of method to relieve her of some of her issues and pain that she's going through, which is drugs. This is something that the Ginger and Bridget character have never experienced before, and of course they end up going to Sam's truck, and smoking up some weed in his truck, on school grounds, which is just hilarious.
Yeah,
The kids here don't the teachers don't seem to care all that much about catching kids smoking because Ginger and them are smoking up a storm, and Sam, whatever Sam does, he works out of the school. He almost seems like he's the gardener or some shit. I'm not really 100% sure, but he's
yeah.
not a student, and he has access to like the greenery or the greenhouse and everything else. So it's kind of weird. Uh,
It's kind of like because there's that greenhouse place that he seems to run that area,
yeah,
and they end up throwing like the Halloween party at the greenhouse later,
it's
which
just
is
a weird. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
weird little thing there. It's cool. It's different. It's probably very Canadian.
yeah, maybe. I mean, or maybe they just had that set and they're like, let's just
Just
do
shoot.
it,
Yes.
let's just like make this like it's a thing, like when they tried to make selling like cruise selling a thing on Jaws 2, it's like you just assume that okay, that's the thing. I guess they have a big, but it's funny though if he's in there doing this pot growing or whatever in this greenhouse and then they draw attention to the place by throwing a Halloween party there, it's probably not a good idea.
It's all a film. But the most important thing about this scene is that Bridget is not in the van with everyone else smoking, and so this becomes one of the signs to Bridget that something that her sister is doing something that she has never done before. That it might be something more than just her getting her
Yeah.
period.
What's funny though is like Sam, he doesn't even know they're in his van, and he's just like, "What are you guys doing in my van, smoking weed?" And he kicks them all out.
Kicks them all out.
It's like you open your van, all of a sudden all this like pot smoke comes pouring out. It's like,
It's one of those things where the students are taking advantage of his goodwill. He may be the supplier of the weed, but he doesn't want you smoking the shit in his fucking van.
right, yeah. I mean, that's funny. He just leaves it unlocked. It probably locks it after that, after having a bunch of people in there smoking.
I'm surprised it's not locked before that. Jesus, you're on a campus, school campus. Shit, I wouldn't trust none of them kids.
They then you see that Trina Sinclair again. Her dog's there, and the dog like freaks out at Ginger. The dog senses that she's like now turning into a wolf.
Yeah,
Uh, and then the bathroom, we start to see her wounds. Like Ginger's in the bathroom. We start to see her wounds are starting to grow hair with the claws because she got clawed, really badly. It was bleeding really badly, but they're starting to grow hair out of that. Um, and there's this scene where the counselor, it's like a woman counselor, and she's wanting to talk to them about the period, and she's being really, really bubbly and kind of over the top, cartoonish acting.
uh huh.
which is kind of funny, but it's kind of like Mimi Rogers' character. Mimi Rogers does this same bit like a lot more convincing because it's kind of like a little much when you have like all these characters like so happily wanting to talk about the period and all this or the menstrual cycle, and it's like just so excited to be talking about it, you know.
Know what? That scene with the counselor. I wanted to tell you that I kind of got that because I found it hilarious, but almost a little out of place. But I get the idea that they're trying to make that a conversation that you don't have to be ashamed of having.
Right, yeah.
So I think
what's funny is like when you act that way, it makes it like so much worse too to even have the conversation, you know.
Well, that's the kind of the reaction that both the Bridget and Ginger character are the reaction every time that happens. When the counselor wants to talk to them about it, they feel embarrassed themselves and everything. And then when their mother brings it up several times, Ginger is just completely confrontational with that. Because neither one of us are female, we never had to go through that conversation. I wonder, because this was written by a female, if that was a like a real world kind of reaction at the time, because this was 2000.
Yeah, it probably is. I mean, it could even happen now. I mean, you look at like back as far as like Stephen King's Carrie, and how her having the period or in the shower, and then they're throwing tampons at her. Like that was definitely like an embarrassing scene for her in that.
So I mean, those are interesting ideals to have in the film. And to be honest with you, that's essentially one of the biggest themes of the movie itself. And they're exploring it from every avenue. And I think the only way to make it be a conversation that you don't need to be embarrassed about talking about, be afraid to talk about, is to have those type of extreme characters where they just think that it's the greatest thing in the world, and you should see it the same way. You're now becoming a woman, and so they want to make this conversation like it's a natural thing, just like it's a natural biological occurrence. So
yeah, I guess it makes sense. I was just thinking what you say. I mean, because you needed the counselor character because the mom can't do all the scenes, but it's just the kind of similarity between the energy between the two. But
yeah,
what's funny is like after that scene, that you have a scene where the mom is doing the laundry and she gets Ginger's underwear and they're all bloody. They're like over the top bloody, and then she looks at him for a second, and then she gets some spray stuff to try to get the blood out, like it's going to come out. It's pretty funny moment.
Yeah. Well, and then she goes, it more or less goes up and tells. I think it's the dinner scene after that.
She gets this big cake, for the period, for her having her period. It makes them.
So, yeah. Well, I don't know. To be honest with the mother who's knows that it's like 3 years later than normal, she it's a very proud moment for her because she only has 2 daughters, and both of them seem to be late by several years. And then of course you have that look between the husband and the wife where she says it's just something he wouldn't understand because obviously he's a man, so it's a conversation that he has, he just wouldn't understand. So I do think it's maybe a little bit over the top, but I think it's perfectly fine within the context of this movie in particular.
Right, yeah. I mean, they definitely go for like kind of comedy with the parents. It's definitely like a little. The adults are a lot different than the kids are. Any of the adults in the film. Anytime you see an adult, it's like it's definitely comes off as a kid's perspective of seeing an adult, and I think that's probably the best way of thinking about it, or a teenager's perspective of seeing an adult, and not like a fully fleshed out character.
I think that's actually a good observation. Because all of the adult characters at the school seem that way. They seem very prudish and very one note on purpose. And so there are people who just won't understand teenagers, and they
Yeah.
simply don't.
Right, right. And that's if you think about it, that's how they seem too. When I was a teenager, that's how adults seemed, very one-dimensional, very like flat, or not necessarily flat, but they just seemed they didn't seem like that well developed. It just seemed like they were kind of against you in a way, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah. Then yeah. It goes into like the calendar stuff there because he starts having like it starts like following the calendar for the stages of the menstrual cycle to know when the full moon is. And she gets the calendar out and she has it marked out. When it first starts out, it's October 6th. And then the full moon's on October 30th, the day before Halloween.
Mm.
And then Bridget starts doing like werewolf research, and it's a pretty cool sequence. But then Ginger starts to develop other things. She's having gray stripes in her hair, and she starts getting really aggressively sexual, and especially with the Jason character. And they're like, before, like he's like asked her. There's like a hilarious scene earlier before she becomes a werewolf, where he asks her out, and they just like completely like, blow him off. But here she's out there making out with the dude on the field, and it's like a completely like she's completely different, very animalistic acting. The further it gets into the month, and this and then there's a scene where Sam approaches Bridget and he talks to her about the something we didn't talk about when they were inside of Sam's truck. They dropped the picture they took of the Polaroid picture of the werewolf, and so he has that picture, and he knows that they were there that night when he hit, because he's the one that hit the werewolf with the car, and he wants to talk to Ginger about that. I mean, to Bridget about that, which he thinks she's the werewolf.
Yeah, because she leads them on thinking with her story that she's the werewolf and not her sister.
Yeah.
And that kind of is how this relationship between the two characters is played out for a while. Until, of course, later on, Sam is revealed to be smarter than what everyone thinks he is. So he figures it out. But it's interesting that Bridget takes that route with him. This is the only guy who wants to know what's going on and is willing to help her. When as before, he was the local drug dealer, so to speak, and their paths would have never crossed because she's only 15. And he's more...
I think she wants to protect her sister, and she doesn't want to be a narc. But it's kind of one of those kind of frustrating things that she does, where some of what happens maybe could have been helped better had she been more forthcoming with him, and there wasn't all this kind of cloak and dagger stuff going on.
Yeah,
but maybe not. I mean, maybe the outcome may have been similar, even though they do find that potential. We see it more. There's 3 movies here. There's like a trilogy of films, but there's the second one, and then the third one's a prequel that they made. But we see a lot more of the antidote in the second one. We start to understand it more, even though it is just a inhibitor, because you can't really stop it from happening, but you can slow it down. Which is kind of an interesting take on it. It's almost like it is a disease. It's like a disease that's taken you over and it's going to kill you, but you can slow it down.
Well, they do try. Their first trial is to get is silver. They think silver will either regress the transformation or help it at all. And so Sam gives her the silver belly ring that they put in Ginger. And it's a very violent scene because the dang needle, and they've never done this before. These are 2 girls who do all their own personal piercings, so they're not professional piercers. So watching Bridget try and give her sister a belly ring is painful, not only to watch, but also painful to Ginger because
you think that would be you would test it out a little bit before like putting it into your belly. You know what I'm saying? Maybe put it in your ear or something. You know, if it said like, yeah, but
Oh Jesus!
that. But
But
one thing though, this does progress pretty quickly into October. By like after she starts the calendar thing, it's only a few minutes later. It's already October 22nd, so a lot of time passes pretty quick in this kind of montage area.
and this montage is when where she's making out with the Jason character in the last.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just like we see like at first it's like, oh wow, they're going to really drag this out, and then suddenly, oh, it's already October 22nd. There's another hilarious scene where the mom has a big pound cake, and at night she wants to have a conversation with Bridget. Um, it's pretty. It's just one of those. She keeps making these cakes and stuff. It's pretty hilarious. This then there's the car sex scene where things start to really change a little bit with Bridget's having sex with Jason in the car, and she ends up becoming really animalistic, and she bites him, and we see the back of her spine starting to transform.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like when she goes back after that to the bedroom. Now, during all this, Bridget's starting to really separate herself. I mean, Ginger's starting to separate herself from Bridget, because she's becoming animalistic, and Bridget's still the same way she was before. So
Yeah.
they've taken separate paths, and Ginger's not being very nice to Bridget, even though Bridget's trying to help her. But she does sense that at this point they're kind of becoming enemies in a way. Um, but then after Ginger has sex with Jason in the car, she comes back to Bridget, and she's all bloody, and you think that she killed Jason, and it turns out she killed another dog that we talked about earlier in the
Um,
backyard, and then they have to dispose of the dog and all that, So she throws up in the toilet.
yeah, but the important thing about that is she feels, or she felt while she was doing it, that she had this rage, this need to kill and to tear apart something.
Right.
Which is why she does the dog. And this rage, this need to tear something apart, plays in much later on because she becomes much more aggressive. The longer the more time has passed, she becomes more aggressive, not only to Bridget, but to other characters as well. But at this point, we realize she didn't kill Jason, and now Jason's or Bridget says that Jason's infected.
Yeah. So what? Yeah, and then two other new developments have happened to Ginger as well. She has grown like a little tail,
Oh yeah,
yeah, which is kind of like really weird. And they have to strap it to when she's putting on her gym clothes, so it's not like hanging out and stuff. And it is like the werewolf. There's not that much hair. It's like a really like fleshy looking tail. It looks almost like it could be a penis or something. It's like, but then and also and when they're doing the belly button ring thing, we do see she suddenly has werewolf teeth when she opens her mouth. Um, and then after that, Jason shows up, and he's beaten up. Like the next day, he's beaten up pretty good from her beating him up. His friends are kind of making fun of him,
yeah,
getting
making
beaten
fun
up
of him
by a
because
girl. Yeah,
he got beat up. You can see it physically on his face, and then of course he starts to bleed. So he has to go. He has to go to the bathroom.
yeah, yeah.
And of course, the crazy thing is later on we see him in the bathroom, at the urinal, and he ends up peeing blood. Uh, and that's when he starts going a little bit off.
Right, right. Yeah, he's like completely losing it a lot quicker than Ginger did. It's funny. There's a scene too, like around that same area where Sam shows up and he calls for Bridget. She's out on the hockey field, the field hockey field. He just calls for her, and she's like, "Oh, like I can't talk to you right now." She's all embarrassed that he's calling to her at school, and he's just kind of like, "Oh, okay, well, screw you then," leaves.
So yeah, the interesting thing about this is that when that happens, we realize that something has or is going on between Sam and Trina, because Trina thinks that Sam is going to call for her and not
Yeah,
for Bridget, so she
yeah, yeah,
feels
yeah, yeah.
offended. Uh, like we don't get that sense in any scene beforehand. I don't. because I don't think we've actually seen a scene with those two in it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and then that's when there's like the big fight with Trina and Bridget because Trina starts walking back and she calls them like sluts when after Bridget talks to Sam and then she actually Trisha knocks Trina knocks down Bridget with the field hockey stick and suddenly Ginger just like jumps on top of Trina and just like beats the shit out of her. Then the teachers
mhm.
send them to the office. It's pretty brutal girl fight that happens there.
Well, we see some of the implications, but we thankfully in this scene we don't see any blood or stuff like that. That will come much later, when they're not when we actually see lots more blood. But we see kind of the fact that she beat the crap out of Trina.
Right. Yeah. And then but that ends up like progressing even further because then they take her dog, I guess, like at some point they take Trina's dog and then when Bridget comes home and Trina's there and she's like demanding that she give her the dog back, and that's when then Bridget comes out. It's funny how she just comes in and she starts manhandling Trina and just like not letting her go, and then
Yeah,
Trina's panicking and then she eventually like Trina accidentally slips on some milk and she hits her head and it kills her by mistake. So then they have to dispose of the body. So it's a pretty brutal scene where she gets killed like that. And there's a callback to the earlier part where they were staging the photos because they got blood all over the floor,
yeah.
and the mom and dad show back up, and then they pretend like they're staging a gore photo instead of which actually works out. It's a pretty cool callback to the earlier stuff, and it pays off that they were shooting those photos earlier.
Yes, it also pays off in the fact that we get to see a much more wild version of the Ginger character that uh, uh, Isabel plays it like spot on perfectly, where she's innocently telling her parents that they have just staged this for extra credit at school. And she's
Yes,
over there licking up the blood. It's it's just corn syrup, Dad. You want some? And of course, you
yes.
see the face on Bridget. It's like like she's disgusted by the whole thing and the way her sister's acting and all that type of stuff. Um, and so, yeah, I think the dynamic between these two characters is is fully being splintered at this point because the Bridget character is not as sympathetic with her sister as she was before now because she's acting more independently. Just even though she wasn't like the person who killed Trina, you know, they both
Yeah,
had. She feels like she has to still cover up and be on the side of her sister, so they have to bury the body. But they don't
yeah.
bury it first. They have to take it out of the freezer because they have to stick it covertly in the freezer when their parents got home. Um,
Right. Yeah, and her fingers actually break off, which causes some problems later because the dogs end up getting them later. But yeah,
yeah, I found that hilarious, mostly for the fact that the body is like frozen like a popsicle in like the span of maybe a couple hours.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It would take a long time for it to be that frozen, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know
But
how long. Yeah, because it would have to be overnight, probably.
dude, there was icicles on
Yeah,
everything in that freezer. That freezer was like, we're freezing everything to the highest common denominator, and there's gonna be ice on everything. That was like, it was hilarious to look at and watch, but it was like, oh shit, their freezer is on the fritz because that shit's fucking gonna get freezer burned in 2 days.
yeah, yeah. No.
But visually, it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
honestly, my freezer kind of looks like that. Yeah,
Oh, gee.
I need to like defrost it. It's in bad shape. It's got like a 4 inch like ice thing coming out of the side of
Oh
it.
my god, dude. So that freezer is more or less like yours and not like my freezer.
Yeah, well, if it gets what happens if it somehow got left open partially, and if it gets left open, then it starts to form these ice crystals like that. It's just real hard to clean. You have to take everything out and
You have to
defrost
take
it.
everything
It's a
out.
pain in the ass. but it still kind of works, in the meantime,
Well, visually it works in this film because it's a really cool shot to see Trina in the freezer frozen like a fucking popsicle.
Yeah, yeah.
And then of course
Yeah,
they're dragging her out to bury her in under the doghouse. Like
yeah, yeah.
it looked like they were burying under a doghouse, but I wasn't
Well,
100% sure because they don't have a dog.
no, it's a shed. It's like a shed that has I guess the inside floor of it is just dirt, but it's like a tool shed. It's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
And they kind of hang out in it. It's earlier in the movie. It's kind of like they hang out in there
Oh
sometimes.
wait, I think you're right. I think
Yeah,
that is the place where that I think you're right. That is the place they're hanging out earlier in the movie. Okay.
yeah. But yeah, things are starting to progress pretty quickly here. There's a scene where Jason um comes up to Bridget in the storage, pulls her into a storage closet, and he's like he's looking really messed up. He's all grotesque looking, pimples and sweaty from I guess he's having the same kind of
Mhm.
symptoms Bridget has. It just doesn't look as good as on him as it does on her. But then the janitor who we see earlier, he comes in and breaks it up. But we see the janitor again another time
Yeah.
later on. But then Jason says say he killed a dog, and then like later, then after this, then that's when Bridget and Sam get together and they come up with the monk's hood idea. So they get like what's really wolf's bane, and then they melt it down into like a liquid form, so they can just use a syringe to inject. They want to inject. Well, he thinks she's going to inject herself, but that is going to direct inject Ginger with it. But she ends up accidentally or having to use it on Jason because he attacks her later outside,
Yeah.
which seems to like it does work. It does like slow it down at that point for him, but we don't see him because he's off screen like most of the time after that, so we don't know
Yeah.
exactly what happens for quite a period of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also at that point it is Halloween, which is kind of the last day of the movie.
It is. It's also much more of a visually stunning day because we see other people walking around in Halloween costumes. We see it look like Halloween, and that's a good way, in my opinion, to end any movie.
Yeah, no, I agree, and even before like the movie starts in either late September or early October, but the whole movie has a fall aesthetic to it because you see the leaves and it does have a very nice fall aesthetic. This is definitely a like a Halloween season type of film.
Hmm. So, um, where we at?
It's, yeah, so like that's it's Halloween now, and then the mom finds the body
Okay.
in the ground. Yeah,
She, well, their father finds the two fingers in the yard, and they take the he takes the two fingers to the mother, Mimi Rogers' character, thinking that there's something very, very wrong going on. And of course she plays it off as though it's just part of their kids'
yeah, yeah.
photography stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah.
she
And then yeah.
picks it up
Yeah.
and puts it in the freezer, but you see the look on her face because she was playing with the fingers, and there's something not right with it.
Yeah. Right. She figures it out. The
Yeah,
mom figures it out, and she unexpectedly well, not necessarily unexpectedly, but like as a mom, she doesn't want to turn them in. She wants to protect them. So instead of like she comes up with a very elaborate plan to protect the daughters that ends up not following through with it, but she does have a plan to help them, but things have gotten too far with the werewolf progression.
well, the
It's
interesting thing about her character is that she becomes a overprotective parent of her two daughters. Like she'd do anything for her two daughters. Um, she's a very different type of caregiver. She allows them to make their own decisions, and the kids make comment on that. Um, but she also feels as though it may not be working, and she feels like she has to have you know, when she finds the body there, she doesn't know why it's there. She just knows that it has what her parenting style, her parenting actions have failed her daughters, and so she devises a plan to escape
Yeah.
uh, with her two daughters, burn the house down, get rid of the evidence, and
Yeah.
leave without the husband.
Yeah. It's so funny when she asks about the dad. It's like, well, no. And then she says, Bridget tells her, she's like, "This isn't your fault, Mom." And then the Mimi Rogers, the mom's character, says, "Yes, it is." Like she blames herself for what happened. I guess in a way, like she considers anything that they've done since she it was her parent not parenting them right, so she considers herself responsible for them.
Yeah.
And so they're going to go to this is when the Halloween party kicks up at the greenhouse, and they're going to go. She's got to go back to the party to get Ginger so they can all leave town.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and it's interesting because you see all the dirt on her face after she was digging it up. You get the sense that maybe she was using a shovel, maybe she was using her hands to dig it up. No matter what, she found what she was looking for, and she still has that all on her face and all of her on her clothes, and you see that. And then
right,
the first person she encounters is Bridget.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, Ginger goes to the party and she goes to Sam and she starts trying to seduce him to have sex with her, and then he ends up throwing her off, and then she hurts his arm. Yeah, which is like it's kind of an interesting scene because he's starting to figure out that she's the werewolf at that point.
Well, keep in mind that he has already figured out that Bridget was talking about her in regards to the werewolf thing, but I don't think that he fully understood it because this is the first time he sees her the way she is now, with the white hair, the whole werewolf visage, and everything like that. This is the first scene he's seen like that. I don't think he's anticipating her being as powerful as she is when she breaks his freaking arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they got the idea is like she's got that antidote idea, but they got to get some more of the wolf's bane, which she gets that from her mom, like the monk's hood. She gets it because her mom has it as a I guess a decorating thing.
Decorated.
But she doesn't have it because she's injected it into Jason. But she needs to get Bridget back to the house so they can try to get her back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, like before this happens, like she does find out that Jason it did help Jason. She does find that out, but she does a blood pact with Ginger. Bridget does. She cuts her hand, and then she basically infects herself with Ginger's blood because she believes that it can be cured with the monk's hood because she saw what happened with Jason. But then Sam suddenly knocks Ginger out with a shovel out of nowhere, and then but they're able to get her in the truck and bring her back to the house for the kind of the last part of the real climax of the film.
Well, it's funny because Bridget is thinking two steps ahead because she is trying to get her sister to go with her willingly to the house because she knows she still has the stuff there to make another antidote. Sam knocks her out, not realizing the plan. And of course they take her in his truck back to his house. Or back to her house, wondering how he's driving with only one arm. But hey, that's part of there. The cool thing is, during this whole driving sequence, we get to see Ginger go through her full and final transformation into the werewolf, the hairless werewolf who walks with all fours.
Yeah, and then they're going to try to they go to get to the house and they want to make the the syringe antidote, so that's kind of they're trying to do that at the house, but the whole end sequence at the house is crazy. Like it really tear that house up pretty good because the werewolf ends up chasing them through the house, and there's attacks, and it's a pretty awesome sequence for the last 10 minutes or so of the film.
Well, yeah, because there's some attacks, and then of course Sam and Bridget end up in I think a closet, where they make the last batch of the serum to inject into Ginger. But before they can do it, Ginger's ass grabs a hold of Sam,
Sam.
drags him
Yeah.
out of the room, and all we hear is Sam being thrust up against the wall repeatedly, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We think that she's tearing him apart. And it terrifies Bridget to no end. And of course, when she opens the door, um, Bridget and Ginger and Sam are both gone. Um, she follows the trail down into their basement bedrooms, I believe, is where. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks a hell of a lot bigger than what you would expect their bedroom basement to be, which is why I say that it looks like a pretty decent sized little area, because that's where she sees Ginger in full werewolf mode, right next to slash above Sam's body, who's Sam could barely breathe straight. He's been punctured in so many ways.
Well, I think it's like kind of it's part of there's the basement, and then there's their room part of the basement, but that's outside of the room at that point. The whole it's like the whole thing is getting them from the top of the house to the last scene, which takes place in their bedroom, which is where the first scene that you see them in took place in, and that was like the where they made their suicide pact.
Yep.
Earlier in the film, that which really ties into the last scene of the film a lot.
Yeah.
But him, like Sam getting killed is pretty brutal. And there's a scene where he's sitting there barely alive, and Bridget starts acting like she's going to drink some blood to try to make the werewolf Ginger think that she's already turning into a werewolf too, to so she'll be protected.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Ginger finds herself with only one vial of the antidote, and she finds herself on one side of Sam and Ginger as a werewolf on the other side of Sam. And it looks like she's trying to manipulate Ginger as a werewolf by trying to drink Sam's blood. And of course, Ginger as the werewolf drinks Sam's blood. But the moment she spits it out because she can't do it, she can't follow through, Ginger just bites into Sam's neck. One of the few very violent sequences in the film, just bites into his neck.
Yeah.
Killing him.
So they kind of sets it up so for the last scene in the bedroom, and then Ginger's a full wolf, like no human left whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Bridget is still trying to get the syringe into her, but now she has a knife in the syringe, and so then she's confronted with her sister, and she says, I'm not dying with you in this room. And then the wolf jumps on her. And then then at that point you think the wolf's dead. I mean, you don't know, you think they're both dead, you don't know what happened. But then it turned out she stabbed Ginger as the wolf, and it killed her.
Yeah.
These wolves can be killed. We saw it with the car hit it earlier, and now we know that you can stab it in the heart with a knife and it'll kill it,
Well, you could probably just stab it anywhere and kill it. Where any vital organ, you probably kill it. And I like that aspect of the film. The story doesn't make up for some overly crazy supernatural way to get rid of these werewolves. These werewolves can be killed in very simplified ways, despite the fact that they are supernatural creatures, and they have some superhuman strength and abilities. They're very easy to kill, as opposed to being just silver bullets or
Yeah. You can just kill them like a normal way, but they're very powerful. It's like a bear, or a big huge wolf. It's still going to be hard to kill.
Big bear.
Yeah, I mean that's like why the other one was able to live, I guess, out in the wild for a little while, because it was like a bear. You come out and you do what you need to do, but then you go back out into the woods until it's time to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
but the last shot of the film is pretty awesome. So she looks at the you see the pictures of the girls on the wall
Yeah.
and then it's just like it's like she's like sitting there over her sister, and there's like it's like a really awesomely composed shot where you got the beads to either side and you see them in the room, and it just it's just it's really awesome looking dolly shot as the sun's coming up. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's how they end but they end the film with the two sisters together. Now, of course, the question for viewers, because there was no inkling of a sequel or prequel when this movie first came out, is that we see the vial of the antidote in Bridget's hand. Like, she doesn't shoot herself up with it in the movie. And Ginger, of course, takes her last breath and the body stops breathing. And they're just sitting there together, sister and sister in arms as we pull out. And that's just literally a great shot to end the whole movie on. But of course, until we get a sequel and a prequel afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really good self-contained story about these two sisters and their relationship to one another. As one of them turns into a werewolf.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely like a metaphor for I guess like adolescence or growing from childhood into adolescence and then having to separate from your sister or your friends as you grow apart in a way.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, in my opinion, it's an extremely well done film, crafted film. Not well done. I'm gonna say crafted film because I still love the cinematography of the film. Although I'm dying to see a 4K version of this, so I will probably go out there and get that so I can see the 4K version of the film.
you have to get it from the Lionsgate limited site. I think right now it's the only place you can get it.
Oh, really? That's Lionsgate Limited, huh?
Yeah, that's what they started about a year or two back. Like any of those Vestron collectors, like they just you can only get them through their site because I guess they got tired of like Walmart selling them real cheap, so they're just like
Walmart did get rid of those things cheap. I tell you, that's how I got some of my Vestrons.
I know. Some of them are hard to get. Like some of them you can get real cheap, and then there's like a few. Like if you start collecting them, then you realize like, oh man, there's a few of these that are hard to get, and they're kind of expensive when you do get them, you know.
Yeah, I just went to the Lionsgate Limited site, and of course, the first thing on there is let's pre-order the Michael blue.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's still the biggest movie out right now. I was like, holy shit, okay. But
yeah, so some stuff they have you can get through other sites, but there are some things you can only get through that site right now until I guess we'll see how it goes. But it's a weird decision. I guess maybe it'll pay off for them. I don't know. I guess it makes their stuff look a little more exclusive when you can only get it from their site. You can't get it from the other boutique label places or even Amazon. So.
Who knows? I can just tell you that they just, I guess, announced the next Vestron video one. The Stoned Age.
Oh, yeah. You got Stone Age, yeah.
Oh my god. But I do like the way this film ends, and I am a fan of the sequel and the prequel as well. So I am looking forward to us talking about those later on. I just think this is a really strong werewolf film in general, but also an excellent horror film overall.
It's better than it has any right to be, really. And I knew that the first time I watched it. I was like, wow, this movie, this is not a movie you would think that would be as good as this is after even when you're watching it, you're like, oh, this is a lot better than I was expecting it to be.
I kind of wish I remember how I came across this film. I almost think that this was probably in the horror magazine I read at the time, and of course it told me that Mimi Rogers was in it. So I said, "Oh shit, I might as well just look at this movie," because I knew none of the filmmakers and I knew none of the actors in this film other than Mimi Rogers. So I can't honestly say why I saw this movie or why it piqued my interest when it originally come out. But I did see this when it came out, as soon as it came out on DVD, because I went out there and bought the damn thing. on DVD.
You're a big fan of werewolf films in general, though, aren't you?
I used to be. The werewolf films for me are not a genre where I find like one of the they're not really great.
Yeah,
I mention a lot of werewolf films that I just have a lot of fun with that I
right.
don't always think are great, but because people think they're not great. Like I used to be a huge fan of American Werewolf in Paris, and we did that for the show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Simply
yeah.
because I was a huge fan of it. Because of the CGI, it didn't hold up very well, and I think I mentioned that in the show.
Yeah,
Or
that movie is yeah, we talked about it at great length, but that one is something else. But it's one that's so I mean that's one of those guilty pleasure ones for sure. How
it's
ridiculous
guilty
that one
pleasure.
is.
It's kind of like what was it, Bad Moon? I think I had a conversation with someone else at Bad
Yeah,
Moon about that one. It's a guilty pleasure movie with
yeah.
also bad CGI for the werewolves. But I was
Yeah, werewolves are hard to do, and it's even worse now. They got CGI. Like, luckily with this, they didn't have that that luxury, so they had to do it practically. So it looks fake sometimes, but it's I would much rather see this than CGI werewolves.
yeah, and I have a list of bad werewolf movies that one day we hope to get on this program. But I gotta convince you all to actually go find the goddamn movies because a lot of them are really hard to find if they've ever been given a Blu-ray or DVD release.
Yeah,
Other than
yeah.
VHS releases. Yeah, I have a lot of guilty pleasure werewolf movies, but I can't
Well,
say that there's a whole lot of great werewolf movies.
yeah. Like, that's what I was saying. That list I had earlier, man. There may be some other ones that are great, but I would think the American Werewolf in London, and that's really I mean I mean the other ones are okay. Like the Howling's okay. The Dog Soldiers is pretty good. And there's even that Wolfman with Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins in it was pretty strong. The original Wolfman's pretty good too, though. But
Yeah,
but
I
it's
like the real. I even like the recent one, the one from last year, which I know a lot of people did not like. I like the one from last year.
yeah. I mean, I liked it. Yeah, it's called Wolfman. That's one I was talking about where it was more of a contagion
Virus,
than
yeah,
a virus or contagion. But I liked it though. I thought it was pretty scary, really.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what people want sometimes. You don't know what the heck they want. I don't know. I thought
Werewolf
the
movies
act.
are just hard. Not
Yeah.
only do you have to get the makeup and visual effects correct, but you also have to get a really good story that actually rings with an
Yeah.
audience, or it just flutters away like American Werewolf in Paris. Like no one fucking remembers that movie, dude. I don't think anyone. It's a sequel to one of the greatest werewolf movies ever made. It's
Oh
one.
man,
It's like talking about Jaws 3 or Jaws: The Revenge compared to Jaws. Like, yeah, no one wants to talk about those fucking movies, dude.
that movie is so dumb. American Werewolf in Paris.
See
They do that bungee jumping off the Eiffel Tower.
that? Yeah, and I can't say much because I love the director who did the movie. And he hasn't done much, and it's shame. It just hurts me that he hasn't done much, because of the reception that movie had.
Well,
But
I think yeah, I think he just like he took a movie like American Werewolf in London that he took that movie that's so well respected and he just like completely went like goofy as hell with it. Like, he
it
took the
was a
comedy to
comedy.
like a completely different level.
Yeah, it was designed as a comedy, and
Yeah.
people with CGI werewolves, early versions of CGI werewolves that everyone thought was going to be the rave, but they did not come off very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, werewolves are hard. This movie thankfully resorted to going to doing practical effects. Part of that is the charm, the fact that it's a Canadian film, and they use practical effects, and the fact that they grounded it in a very female centric story with an actual parallel. Which has been used very similar, like you mentioned before, like Carrie. That those type of stories ring with audiences because you're telling something more than just a genre film. Carrie is such a great movie because it's a character based film, despite the fact that the main character has telekinesis. Telekinesis.
Telekinetic powers, yeah. So, but
So
yeah, but it's very strong. The performances by the leads in this.
mhm. And that's another thing. The leads are very, very strong in this film. Even if you believe that this film doesn't have a really strong cinematography or look and feel, which is why I want to see the 4K so badly. I want to see I really want to see the 4K and see how it was. Um,
Well, I mean, I
or
think the Scream Factory Blu-ray is really strong as well, but the 4K does add a lot of extra detail to
yeah,
it.
yeah. You just need sometimes we need these great films like this. We don't need all of the werewolf films to come off as the plethora of Howling sequels, which are had their own legacy to live by. We only got two American Werewolf films, but we got a whole shit ton of them for the Howling for some.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The
yeah.
never-ending franchise. I think the last one just came out within the last 10 years. It's the never-ending franchise. Um and you know, I don't know why, to be honest with you, why we can't take the time to craft great werewolf movies. In the last 10, 20 years, we've had really the ones talked about is Ginger Snaps and Dog Soldiers. I mean, Werewolves Within is becoming a very big cult film, and Late Phases is becoming another great movie, a go-to werewolf movie as well. I'm not sure if you saw
Yeah,
Late Phases or not.
there's one like recently, no one's talking about it, but I thought it was pretty good. It's just called Werewolves. It had
I haven't seen that one yet. I haven't
yeah, I mean it was like more of an action film, but I thought it was a lot of fun. I
seen
think
Frank Grillo in it.
yeah, Frank Grillo's in it. It has Lou
Yeah,
Diamond Phillips in it, and
shit, I didn't know he was in there. I
yeah,
knew Frank
he's
Grillo was
more of
there.
a
I like Frank
yeah.
Grillo.
Yeah. Frank Grillo's like from the was it the Purge films. He's like the only reoccurring character in the Purge films to be in multiple ones. But no, I like it, and I thought it was a strong it was an action werewolf film. Some practical, there's some CGI, but it wasn't horrible CGI.
Well, we have plenty of action werewolf films. If you want to check out, Full Eclipse with Mario Van
Yeah,
Peebles, you can
I've
always
seen
check
that. Yeah, Bruce Payne. He's
Bruce
like, you want
Payne.
to see something really scary, and then
Oh, Jesus. I need to find a good version of that. I don't have a good
yeah.
version of that.
Yeah, that's a made for HBO movie, I think, and
Yeah,
it's
I
I don't
have a VHS copy of it somewhere.
yeah, they don't I don't think they have a good release out of it as far as I know. They may have a Blu-ray out, but I don't know. I'd like to see a 4K or either like a nice Blu-ray of it.
Yeah, same here. I would like to see a nice one of that one.
Think yeah, he's like, you want to see something really scary, then he turns into a werewolf. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. That's been said in some other movie too, I think.
Well, Bruce Payne did play in the Howling Six, The Freaks. So
Yeah. He's like what do you was it werewolf the warlock, the third warlock?
yeah, he's in the third Warlock too. He's in a
Yeah,
lot of movies. The thing
yeah,
is, he got pigeonholed as a character actor in horror movies, and so he's done a shit ton of those movies over
yeah,
his years. I like him. I've never disliked him.
yeah.
So he's always been fun. But
Was he the villain in like Passenger 57? I think he was.
I think he was the villain in
Yeah,
Passenger 57, the Wesley
yeah,
Snipes movie. I think so.
yeah.
Jesus, going old school on my ass.
Yeah.
With that, Dan, I want to thank you for having a conversation about Ginger Snaps with me. We will definitely have to pick up and do the other two films at some point over the next year or so. Because now I want to see I want to rewatch the other two movies now. To see how they kind of hold up in this 20
Yeah,
years
yeah.
later.
I watched them like recently. I watched all three of them like together, and I think they held up really good. I enjoyed all three of them.
It's just hard to believe that it's been 26 years. Jesus.
Yeah.
Like I did not realize this much time has passed for this film, but wow. All right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The more that happens, the more ridiculous it gets.
I
I
know,
think
isn't that crazy, dude? Jesus.
yeah.
All right. With that, for everyone listening, what we love to do is we love to rate the movies. We rate the movies from 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing. But what we love to do is we like to take an object, quote, or saying for the film to attribute to our rating. Dave, what is your rating for this film, and what is the quote, object, or saying you want to attribute to the film?
So I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna use a syringe full of purple monk's hood, and I'm gonna give it 4 of those.
Good. I still love this movie a little bit more, so I'm actually gonna give it 4.5. Mutilated dog corpses in this film. I can't recall any other movie that had more than one mutilated dog corpse. I think this one should go down as the quintessential movie with mutilated dog corpses in it.
Yeah, I guess you get like points deducted from your film for killing dogs, but you get extra points for having it take place at Halloween. So I guess it evens out. You know?
There you go. All right. I want to thank you all for listening to us, our conversation on Ginger Snaps. Please make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, do that thing you do with your favorite podcast or your favorite podcast app, Spotify, or YouTube. There are a lot of great recordings on other movies in our archive, so please make sure to check them out. We have been doing these films for over 3 years now, and we have a ton of great conversations for your enjoyment. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, have a pleasant day, and we will see you at the next full moon. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.